What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for December 5th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. We got a lot to get to, but first, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word. If you're enjoying this, likely someone in your circle will too. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, all that other good stuff. So give a like and subscribe. We're slowly getting into the reverse advent calendar portion of our gift and food drive. I've told you we've already donated $500 worth of Target gift cards. Continuing to get donations in, whether they be monetary or food supplies. So thank you. Still plenty of time to donate. Again, you can either do the reverse advent calendar at your house. I know the kids, it's really a good way to get them involved. And I'll have details about when I'm dropping things off if you'd like to meet me there. But if you do drop things off directly to the Maddie Ann Dixon Community Cupboard, just be sure to mention This Day in Philly Sports History. Or you can Amazon things to me. Whatever makes it easier for you, you can just donate. I'm going to make a big trip at the end to either Target or BJ's or Walmart, something to get all of the stuff we need. So if you'd rather just make a monetary donation, that is fine too. The link to the GoFundMe is in the description. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody who has donated so far. I truly, truly appreciate it. We're making some holiday magic happen for our friends and neighbors, courtesy of the Maddie Ann Dixon Community Cupboard. And if you are participating in the reverse advent calendar, the item of the day is canned pasta, whether it be SpaghettiOs, Chef Boyardee, whatever brand they have there. So that is one of the items on their wish list. So canned pasta is today's advent calendar of the day. Continuing with our 25 days of kindness, this one's a very simple one because all of us know one or multiple ones of these in our circle of friends, circle of acquaintances. Just go thank a police officer or a fireman or both for putting their lives on the line. I know a lot of times in our society today, with police and everything, you see a lot of negative things on the news and everything, but that does not make up the majority of police officers. So most police officers that I know are great, and they go out there and try to make a difference and try to turn and spin the negative stereotypes. So go thank a police officer, thank a fireman. If you're lucky enough to know someone who does both, thank them both for just helping do the things that we don't see, that we take for granted, but help to make our lives go smoothly. So thank you to all the police officer and firemen out there. If you are listening, I truly, truly appreciate. And again, if you're out there, 25 days of kindness, go thank a police officer or a fireman, or better yet, go thank both. All right, let's get into a recap of today's question of the day. I asked you yesterday, do you care about the Sixers? And as much as I want to say I don't, I'm still getting frustrated and mad at them. So that means on some level, subconsciously, I still care. But 70% of you said, no, you don't care. Hard to argue that with the product they've been putting out on the court. More on that in a second. But thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. There will be another one later in the show. So speaking of those Sixers, 106-102. It was actually an entertaining game for the most part. I was able to catch bits and pieces of it between putting the kids to bed and getting things situated after dinner. But 106-102, they lost. No Paul George, no Joe. Jarrett McCain had 24. And it seems as though, and nobody's really talking about this that I've seen, but it seems to me Jarrett McCain plays a lot better when he starts other than coming off the bench. So I don't know what that means for this team moving forward, especially since it seems like when Paul George plays, Jarrett McCain comes off the bench. But I think it's something worth keeping an eye on. I mean, there's not much to get excited about with this team. So all we have is Jarrett McCain right now. Tyrese Maxey struggled yesterday, but has been pretty clutch late. But I don't know. Again, just something to kind of put on your radar. Maybe if you're in that 70% that don't care about the Sixers right now, something to kind of watch for. It's just he seems like he plays better as a starter. Again, I don't know if there's anything to that. I don't know if I'm not advocating for Jarrett McCain to start over Paul George, but I think there might be, I don't know, Nick Nurse has some things to figure out there. But Gershon Yabusele has been a pleasant surprise. I would love to see, like, he's really developing into a nice overall player, making the most of his second chance in the NBA. It's still way early in the season, but I would not be opposed to bringing him back next year, signing more to a long-term deal. But that's where we stand. Last night was a League Cup. Last night was not a League Cup. Friday night, I believe, is the League Cup. No, it's not. League Cup's over. I don't know. Either way, it's weird because they played the Magic last night at home. They're playing the Magic again at home on Friday. Joe might play. The word on the street is that he has an outside shot of playing. Whether or not that comes to fruition, I don't know. I know on the radio this morning, John Johnson was talking about what kind of reception would you give him. And I don't know that I would boo him. I mean, what are you going to boo him for? It's not his fault his knee screwed up. It's not his fault the Sixers are bungling the whole situation. So I don't see why fans would boo him. But hey, to each his own. I'm not one to tell you who to boo and who not to boo. But that's where we stand with the Sixers. They're just not good. Not good at all. Maybe this is the same as what the Spurs did in 96-97, and maybe we get Cooper Flagg. I don't know, but we shall see. A little bit of Phillies news. The rumors are all over the place, and apparently they have not talked to Juan Soto. They have not even contacted Juan Soto. And listen, that's fine. The money, whatever. I'm fine with that. I just don't know if you're doing your due diligence by not even contacting Scott Boras. Or maybe they did and they're not making it public. I don't know, but that was the latest report. Owners' meetings get started next week. Dave Dombrowski has said he's not necessarily seeing them making a big splash. It's probably going to be more tweaking. So I don't know. We'll see. It's December, so who knows what's going to happen with the Phils. But lots of feedback, though, on the Golding at-bat rule, and I was shocked, quite honestly, at the people that were in favor of it. I think it's, I don't know, clown show. But, hey, it is what it is. If you like it, that's fine. So feel free to give me more feedback on the Golding at-bat, but I think it's just dumb. I think the Ghost Runner is dumb. I'm fine with the pitch clock. I'm fine with making a pitcher throw to 3 batters before you can pull him. All of that stuff I'm okay with. But when you start messing with the rules, maybe not the rules, but like the flow of the game and things like that, it's just I don't see it. We'll see what happens next week. I don't see it coming to fruition, but I guess stranger things have happened. Flyers in action tonight in a huge game down at the Wells Fargo Center. They're welcoming the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions. Big test for them. I really want to see how they stack up because they've been playing well lately. Florida obviously are the defending champs, so we'll see what happens down at the Wells Fargo Center tonight. All right, some Eagles news, and lots to get into about the Eagles. And I guess I'll start with the easy stuff first. They're all saying the right things about going into this Panthers game. I know I made it perfectly clear. I'm working on the 3 keys already, but I'm nervous about this game. I really think that this is going to be a much closer game than what we're expecting. And I think sometimes the football gods have a way of bringing people back down to earth because there's a lot of Super Bowl talk and lots of, which is fine. But I'm really worried about this game. But the team is saying the right things. And, like, Nick Sirianni says we got to take everybody serious. We're not doing our job. And I agree, and I think he's saying the right things, but I'm nervous about this game. I think it is more of a trap game than what we saw a couple weeks ago. But we'll have more on this game as it goes. Some good news on the injury front. Devonta Smith was a full participant in practice. Now, it was a walkthrough, so not real sure what that means, but trending in the right direction, and I think welcoming him back is going to be good for the offense. Darius Slay was a limited participant. Reed Blankenship, Sidney Jones both did not practice. We know Goddard did not practice. I don't likely see him playing this weekend anyway. But excuse me. But Devontae being a full participant, trending in the right direction, that's a huge boost for the offense. Braden Mann was named the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week for his outstanding punting in that Baltimore game. And I did see this. I thought this was hilarious. Deontay Johnson of the Ravens was suspended for a game because he flat out refused to go into the game against the Eagles. Don't know really the backstory. I just happened to see it as a passing thing on Twitter. But that's kind of funny. He didn't want that smoke from Quinion and Cooper. So, I don't know. But, back to the offense. And Sirianni's been saying a lot recently about Jalen Hurts and praising him, saying he deserves to be in the MVP considerations, this, that, and the other, and claims that he's having his best season. He's doing what the team needs to do to win. And that kind of leads me into where I wanted to go with this today. We're at it again, Philly. And it's one of those things. It's like, and I get it. I fell into this trap somewhat with the Phillies before too. You got to get out of the old Philly mentality. The woe is me, sky is falling. We're not used to being a front runner all the time. So when we are, we tend to fall back on those old habits. I heard so much and read so much talk about just Jalen Hurts not being good, Jalen Hurts not being able to throw the ball. What's going to happen if somebody slows down Saquon Barkley? Jalen Hurts threw for 118 yards against the Ravens. And that's all he's needed to do. That's all he's been asked to do. You have Saquon Barkley having an historic season rushing the ball. Why would you stray from that? And Jalen makes the throws when he needs to. Like, he's efficient with his throws in games when he has to. He hasn't needed to throw for 300 yards. He hasn't needed to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. In the flow of the offense, with Saquon Barkley having a historic season, Jalen Hurts has been just fine. And everybody's like, oh, well, they're hiding him. They're calling the offense. They're playing to the strength of the team. I think we're grasping at things right now because we don't want to be happy. We don't want to feel good. We're scared about what might happen. I'm telling you, enjoy it. I have full confidence because I've seen him do it. Even when the offense was a hot mess last year, Jalen was able to throw for 300 yards. Jalen was able to get the ball rolling. So they didn't look good last year, and Jalen still was having a great year. Just relax. Enjoy what we have. If Saquon wasn't having an historic season, then I might say, all right, maybe they're trying to hide. He hasn't needed to throw the ball that much. There's going to come a time, it could be this weekend. I have a bad, sneaky suspicion it could be this weekend. But Jalen will be able to throw the ball. Jalen has shown he can go toe-to-toe with the best. He went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, and it took a bogus pass interference or holding, whatever it was, late in the game for the Chiefs to beat him. So I think just my advice, just relax, enjoy it. Got to get out of that old Philly mindset and just, it's like we're trying to look for negatives. And it's like, because this team has been so much fun over the past 8 weeks, because this team has been so good over the 8 weeks, we're not comfortable with it. And I get it. We're not used to it. but just take a step back. It's going to be okay. We don't have to constantly look for the negatives. All that being said, that leads to today's question of the day. Does Jalen need to have the big splashy numbers in order to be considered maybe not elite, a good quarterback? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. I don't think he does. If you look at him throughout his entire career, college on, all the dude does is win. Okay? So the dude has a winning pedigree. The dude knows how to win games. He does what it takes to win games. Look at his record. All right? So I don't think he needs the splashy numbers to be considered a good quarterback, but I'm hearing so much about, well, he's only throwing 200 yards, and against Baltimore he threw for 118 yards, and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. They're winning games, and he's making the most of the throws. The throws he made in that Baltimore game were good, and they let the Goddard touchdown. He hit AJ a couple times. I think we just need to breathe, Philly. Breathe. But let me know what you think. Does Jalen need those splashy numbers in order to be a good quarterback, or at least to be in the conversation of good quarterbacks? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Talk to me about the golden at bat rule. Talk to me about the McCain Paul George thing. I think there's something to that. Nobody's really talking about it, but McCain plays well when he starts, struggles when he comes off the bench. Everybody wants to talk about Joe. I think there's an issue, but let me know your thoughts on that on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Be sure to go to Philly Goat, get some Christmas shopping done. I feel bad. I've made 3 separate purchases on 3 separate occasions for Christmas gifts because things come to me and it's just like, oh, okay. I'm not going to tell you what I bought, because some of you out there listening are going to benefit from the Philly Goat shopping experience. But you got to check out the new shirt. If you're my age and you grew up playing video games like Nintendo, they have the Tecmo Bowl Saquon Barkley touchdown t-shirt from Tecmo Super Bowl, the running back spiking the ball, touchdown, Saquon Barkley. It's amazing. Go check it out on phillygoat.com. Be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. And Ryan, if you're listening, I might place my 4th order later today because I think I need to get one of those Tecmo Saquon shirts. And then check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. New NFC East podcast drops today. Back on a normal routine. Actually excited to listen to during my workday today. So go check them out wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. But get the Tecmo Saquon shirt. Ryan, I'm sorry. Probably could have saved myself a ton of money in shipping if I just put in one big order. But hey, when new shirts are constantly popping up, this is what happens. All right, today we're going to go back to 2004. And on this day in 2004, the Eagles took on the Packers at the Linc. They were 10-1, and they were cruising. The only loss came to that game out in Pittsburgh to Ben Roethlisberger. But coming into this game, and stop me if you've heard this before, the narrative was, well, they haven't played anybody. They haven't beaten anybody good. In the one good game they played, they lost. Well, going into that Packers game, that's what people were saying. And the Packers just added fuel to the fire coming into the game, because they were saying, well, last year, because the Eagles beat them twice the year before, once on Monday Night Football in Green Bay, and then on the 4th and 26 game in the playoffs, and basically said the Eagles were lucky to beat us twice last year. Well, the Eagles, the 2004 version of the Eagles, didn't like this too much. So game started, they fumbled on their first drive, but Brian Dawkins intercepted, got the ball right back, and then the route was on. The offense just completely lit up the scoreboard. Donovan threw 41 yards to T.O. to get the scoring started, and then from there, it was all Eagles. They led 35-3 at the half. Most of the starters were out by the 4th quarter. When the dust settled, it was 47-17. Packers scored a couple touchdowns late in garbage time against the backups. Donovan threw for a then team record 464 yards. That was later broken in 2018 by Nick Foles. But 464 yards and 5 touchdowns. Terrell Owens had 8 catches for 160 yards and a touchdown. Brian Westbrook had 11 catches for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. The defense held Brett Favre to 131 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked him 5 times. And I think the key part of this game was not the offensive explosion, but the fact that we're like, okay, this defense might be legitimate. And I've heard a lot over the past couple weeks. There's been a lot of comparisons of this year's defense to that one, as the 2004 sometimes is considered the best defense in the last 25 years or so. But I think this game, we realized that this defense may just be legit. Andy Reid won his 67th game, including playoffs, passing Greasy Neal as the winningest coach in Eagles history. He's currently sitting at, I believe it's 140 wins total for the Eagles. Terrell Owens broke the team record set by Mike Quick for receiving touchdowns in a game. If you remember, there was that bet that T.O. made. He always wore his tights for practice and working out, that if he got to 15 touchdowns, that Andy Reid would have to wear the tights in practice. And it just seemed like a foregone conclusion at this point that we were going to see Big Red in tights. Unfortunately, the way the season broke, Roy Williams with the horse collar that literally broke T.O.'s leg. We didn't get to see, luckily, I guess we could say, luckily we didn't get to see Andy Reid in tights. But things were just rolling for the Eagles after this point. We were sitting on top of the world for a little while, as Van Halen said. Little did we know what was about to embark over the next year. But on this day, back in 2004, Eagles beat the Packers 47-17 at the Linc. Donovan throwing for 5 touchdowns, setting the team record for passing yards. T.O. broke the team record for receiving yards in a season. Andy Reid with the most wins. Just a great day to be alive at the Linc. Now, I didn't mention this yet, but today is my birthday. And as my gift to you, I have a little bit of a bonus this day for you. So 46 years ago, 1:28 in the morning, my mom gave birth to a baby boy. And later that day, though, one of the biggest free agent signings in Philadelphia sports history occurred. On this day, back in 1978, the Phillies signed Pete Rose to a 4-year, $3.2 million contract, and we all know how that worked out. Now, I have no scientific proof to back this up. I was born at 1:28. Later in the day, Pete Rose signed. There was no... If you follow this story, there was no indications that the Phillies had any shot left. They made a case for him. It didn't look like Pete Rose was going to sign with the Phillies. All of a sudden, I come along. Later in the day, boom, Pete Rose is a Philly. They win the World Series a year later. You put them over the top. Now, again, I don't have any scientific proof that my mom, giving birth to me, led to Pete Rose signing with the Phillies, but I also don't have any scientific proof that says Pete Rose signing with the Phillies is not a direct result of me being born. So maybe, just maybe, I'll give a shout out to my mom. My mom is responsible for the Phillies winning the 1980 World Series. How about that? Yeah, I know, it's a stretch. But legitimately, Pete Rose did sign with the Phillies on this day back in 1978, just mere hours after I was born. And again, I would like to think that me being born on December 5th was the big story in Philadelphia and the surrounding area that day. But no, it was the signing of Pete Rose. So thank you, Mom, for helping the Phillies win the 1980 World Series. Just a little bit of fun on my birthday. All right, finally today. Sorry, I'm just cracking up because, anyway. Forgotten teams in Philadelphia sports history. Today, we're going to spotlight the Philadelphia Independents. They were a pro soccer team for the Women's Professional Soccer League. They were founded in 2009. They played 2 years before the league folded, and they were pretty good for the 2 years that they were in the league. They won 10 games both seasons. 2010 and 2011, they placed third and placed second in the standings, but both times they played in the championship game and finished as the runner-up in the league. They played their home games at Westchester, and then most of them were played at Widener. They actually had a cool logo, too. So if you Google Philadelphia Independence and look at their logo, it's actually really one of the better logos that kind of incorporate the history of Philadelphia into it as well. But the league didn't really fold. It suspended its operations and then sort of morphed into another league. We'll talk about that later in the month. But the Philadelphia Independents from the Women's Professional Soccer League is today's forgotten team. They were only here for 2 years, but they certainly made their mark, going to the championship in both games before bowing out. And then the league ultimately folded. So the Philadelphia Independents, but definitely go check out that logo. On this day in 1978, the Phillies signed Pete Rose to a 4-year, $3.2 million contract. Ultimately was the missing piece that put them over the top and finally brought a World Series championship to Philadelphia. I'd like to say I had a little bit of say in that. Might be a stretch, but again, I don't have any scientific proof that that's not the reason they signed Pete Rose. Just throwing that one out there. Also on this day in 2004, the Eagles beat the Packers 47-17. Donovan threw for 364 yards, breaking the team record. Threw for 464 yards, breaking the team record. 5 touchdowns. T.O. set the team record for receiving touchdowns in a season. Andy Reid for total wins in a coaching career. Just a record-setting day at the Linc. 35-3 at halftime. I remember we wanted to hang out, but then once the starters left, we were just like, all right, we're out of here. But that happened on this day in 2004. Be sure to hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know your thoughts on Jalen Hurts. Does he need those splashy numbers to be considered a good quarterback? A lot of people keep talking about the numbers, but the only number I'm concerned about is the fact that he wins. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. We'll have more on the Flyers Panthers tomorrow, continuing our coverage on the Eagles Panthers. And if you want to give me a birthday present, donate to our food and gift drive. Link is in the description. All proceeds benefit the Matty Ann Dixon Community Cover. I really do truly appreciate it. I had a little bit of fun there with my birthday, but I do appreciate all of your support. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 5th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.